Students, good afternoon. You can hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Good afternoon,
Yes,
ma'am.
good.
Afternoon,
Afternoon,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Today is the last group's presentation who were left out from the first set of presentation. I think that is Mohammed Owais's group. Is Owais here?
Yes, ma'am.
This is
So,
Owais's group. Owais Mohammed Owais is here. Now your
yes, ma'am.
group can take over. You can take over, share your slides for presentation.
Okay, ma'am. Okay.
Try to adhere to the time limit. So over
Sure,
to
ma'am.
Owais.
Good afternoon, everyone. Today, our group will be presenting a detailed study conducted by MIT and Deloitte on the topic Strategy, not Technology, Drives Digital Transformation. The main reason behind this study was to factually establish that the digital transformation isn't as much about technology as it is about strategy. Before we begin the presentation, let's figure out how this idea actually came into existence. Next slide, please. Back in 2014 and 15, there was a travel company that hired a company called Humanize, which dealt in human analytics. The company was hired mainly with the purpose of figuring out why the company's productivity was going down, to have a detailed study on the employees and methods to boost their productivity. Humanize then employed certain tools to analyze the travel company's workforce and discovered that people that were having lunch together had higher productivity than people that were having lunch separately. For example, suppose there were four people sitting at a lunch table, their productivity was comparatively less as compared to, saying, eight people that were sitting at a table and having lunch together. The integration of digital technologies pointed the way to increasing table sizes, which led to a direct and measurable impact on productivity. So, after this analysis, the company saw that the cafeterias had two table sizes, one that would seat four people and then the other that would seat 12 people. After that, they found a middle ground and increased the seat sizes to 8 so that more people could sit together. This is how the thought came up and ended up being researched on a global level. Thanks to the analytic tools employed by Humanize, the company was able to figure out that lunch breaks were not just for food and breaks, but also informal meeting grounds where people could communicate freely and convey their ideas. Hence, we know that technology is more important when implemented properly, backed by a proper strategy. Moving on to Hammad. Thank you.
Thank you, Abdul. So let us discuss the components of digital strategy. A lot of ink has been spilled telling the stories of companies failed by digital disruption. So, in our experience, successful digital transformation must rest on a foundation of a smart digital strategy. And smart digital strategy, like traditional business strategy, is about making wise investment choices to maximize the competitive advantage, is about making wise investment choices to maximize growth, profit, and value, and then implementing with discipline. Now, let us move forward and discuss what are SMACs, or we can say the technologies that work under the SMAC umbrella. SMACs stands for social, mobile, analytics, and cloud. So, we'll discuss one by them as detailed. So, social media platforms such as Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and Snapchat have provided businesses with new ways to reach, interact with, target, and acquire customers. It has given rise to new job titles such as social media influencers or digital influencers, new marketing tactics such as viral marketing campaigns, and new data sources such as likes, reposts, hashtags, and network connections. Going towards the M letter of SMACs, it stands for mobile. Mobile technologies and platforms such as the iPhone and the iPad have changed the way people communicate, shop, and work. The introduction of connected devices and wearable devices, both of which rely on cheap sensors to generate and transmit data, are the basis for new business models and new services offered to customers. Coming to the letter A, that stands for analytics. So, data analytics allows businesses to understand how, when, and where people consume certain goods and services. It is also used as a predictive indicator for future customer behavior, as well as when physical assets such as part of a jet engines will experience degradation. As the cost for processing power and storage decreased, analytics become a top priority for companies. The open source project Apache Hadoop that we all know ushered in a new era of analytics that is now recent terms known as big data. Coming towards the letter C, that stands for cloud. So cloud here refers to cloud computing. that provides a new way to assess technology and the data a business needs to quickly respond to changing markets and solve business problems. It ushered in a new way to build infrastructure, platforms, and services. Amazon Web Services is one of the recent examples that act as a big disruptors in this field. So that was all about SMACs. Now I'll pass on to Risna to discuss the presentation further.
So we'll be discussing further with the digital transformation. When the study is conducted by the Deloitte in between 117 countries and between 29 industries in 2016, with most of the two by third of the correspondents out of USA. The study asked the correspondents to imagine an ideal organization transformed by digital technologies and capabilities that improve processes, engage and talent across the organization and drive new and value generating business models. How close is your organization to that ideal? Basically, they're telling to categorize their digital transformation of their company into three grouping actually: early, developing, and maturing. Early means the companies that are still at the early stages of developing, early stages of their technologies in their companies, and mature in developing, the developing stage, and maturing in terms of maturing uh, at the mature stage. And what we could able to see is that the early stage was being classified from 1 to 3 ratings, and developing stage was classified into 4 to 6 ratings, and the maturing stage was classified into 7 to 10 percentage, out of which we can see the majority of the companies fall under the category of developing. So there was a discussion over, like, why early, why developing, and why maturing the companies fall under. And the what this early means is that the companies which are at the really early stages of in the technology level, uh, when uh, when looked upon their the reasons behind why like why when after years also the same companies falls under the same categories of early, developing, and maturing, they are not progressing, and they are not in the same category, like a treading in the water, because in case of early, they are they're actually kind of thinking about the technology but not really acting on it, for example. And in terms of developing, they are kind of developing their technologies over a period of time, but not at the, like my friend mentioned, in a strategical manner to the core of their uh, business ideas. In terms of maturing, they are perfectly put their digital technology, digital transformations into the core of their business. So when we analyze these stages, we can understand that the study also shows that most of the company that are successful are those which are digitally managing both every aspect, like customers, clients, the employees, and everything under technology are the most successful uh, companies we could see. Now, I would like to transfer the rest of the presentation to Anas.
Good afternoon, everyone. I would like to take this presentation forward by discussing the challenges faced while digital transformation. While digital transformation presents unique opportunities for organizations to innovate and grow, it also forces critical thinking and potentially reimagine aspects that are core to your business. So, I would discuss the 9 most important challenges to consider while undertaking digital transformation. Number one is lack of change management strategy. Organizations with a thorough change management strategy are 6 times more likely to meet or exceed digital transformation objectives. Having a strong change management culture is vital for ensuring organizations stay relevant and engaged. Second, of who feel there is nothing wrong with the they are current on performing in the current
internet and social media. Big or small companies are now turning to online advertisement and marketing. In this way, companies have become digitally mature. Digital maturity assessment helps organizations determine whether they are and formulate strategies to arrive at their desired maturity level. Most of the assessment tools are in the form of questionnaire that covers business strategy, people and culture, operation and processes, technology, customers and partners. One example of assessment tool is by Axway, which pointing, costing, and disrupting to describe its maturity. Digitally maturity assessment helps to determine whether you are in your company's digital journey. It helps you plan out strategies to become digitally mature. As we know that there will be new systems and technologies that will disrupt the market, and one will be ready to adapt to it. That is what digital maturity is all about. Over to Daim.
What should be the objectives of digital strategy? First of all, it should transform the business. It is a plan of action describing how business must strategically reposition itself in the digital economy. As customer habits change, so do the way of doing business. It consists of detail of using planned digital solution to improve the physical aspect of your business across engineering, manufacturing, and service. As you can see from the graph, business model is not easy task and early adopters struggle a bit. It should improve customer engagement. When coming up with a digital strategy, marketers need to think of social media as a powerful tool. It can be used to connect, share, research, identify trends. This helps in making decisions to boost customer engagement. It should improve innovation. Digital transformation, as we discussed, in adopting technology to support a business goal. Innovation is what results from that. Improve business decision making. Firstly, identify high risk and rewarding opportunities such as entering new markets and changing existing business model. Secondly, maintain the focus on including analytics into your core business decision making process. Driving in analytical transformation enable companies to gain competitive and edge and stay at forefront of digital disruption. Increase efficiency. It implies a change to work culture and adoption of new workflow due to the process of technological change, which will automatically increase efficiency cause of digital strategy. In this process, it is very important to prepare employees for this transition, acquiring new technological competence and skills to improve efficiency. Now let's see what are the effective strategies of digital transformation.
Thank you, Daim. Good afternoon, one and all. Let us now discuss the effective strategies for digital transformation. An effective strategy for digital transformation has two elements in it: digital ideation and enablement. As was discussed by my colleagues, the strategy for digital transformation holds more importance than the transformation itself. And in order to meet its objectives, the first element, that is digital ideation, involves answering the core questions of what and why. And subsequently, the second element, enablement, comes into play, where we need to figure out how and when. So, for this strategy to be practically feasible, it should be one which is directly influenced by the organization's business goals and is in line with the organization's vision. The strategy should be designed in a way so as to enhance the customer employee engagement and inculcate their feedback into constantly improving the strategy. A strategy and consequently the digital transformation should have a clear sense of the business needs and strategic long-term and short-term goals aligned to each other. Another key element in the strategy is that it should support the unobstructed flow of data in the organization, and there should be tools available to help visualize and interrogate the data. Let me give you an example of an American food company to you. McCormick and Company, which is an American food company, developed an algorithm called Flavor Print, representing the company's flavors as a vector of 50 data points. This was then used to recommend recipes to its customers. So the point I'm trying to make is that the vision ultimately led the company to become a food experience company rather than just a company of spices. Apart from this, there should be a clear roadmap for the digital transformation and a design-led strategy which would evolve into a change in the culture of the organization. All of these steps pave the way of the enablement of the strategy, which most importantly requires a strong digital architecture so that the digital transformation puts the organization in an entirely new and efficient position rather than trailing the latest technologies. Along with the application strategy engagements, mobile app management, etc., a vital point is security and risk activities. The business fundamental in digitally matured organizations is that they are committed to transformative strategies supported by collaborative cultures that are open to risk taking. On the other hand, this is not the case with the less matured organizations where aversion of risks holds the highest importance. Ultimately, the companies that avoid risk taking are unlikely to bring disruption in the market and might also lose out on the talent in the long run. For this, business leaders must inculcate a culture where everyone in the organization can embrace failure as a prerequisite for success. Finally, for a strategy to be sustainable for the long term, it should be agile and adaptive. To induce forward action, it should be flexible to adapt and scale as and when the situation demands. So, the strategy must be agile and ready to experience experiments, or else it would fail in when the market conditions change, just as rightly pointed out and said by the former CEO of Cisco Systems, John Thomas, that by the time it's obvious you need to change, it is usually too late. Thank you. That will be all from my side. And I'd like to invite OS for the further proceedings.
Thank you, Sayantan. Now, in order to conclude this presentation, I would like to grasp 5 key points that we learned from this presentation. Number one is greater integration between online and offline experiences. Digital strategies will need to address the increasingly blurred distinction between the online and offline worlds. At the Metropolitan Museum of Art, for example, the goal is to create compelling online experiences that induce people to visit the New York City Museum and then stay connected through social and mobile. Number two, data will be more tightly infused into processes. Organizational cultures must be primed to embrace analytics and the use of data in decision making and processes. In the last year's social business report, we found that socially mature organizations integrate social data into decisions and operations. Twitter is meeting a similar need by expanding its scope from being just a social media platform to being a social and mobile analytics provider. Number three, digital strategy that goes beyond implementing technologies. Digital strategies at maturing organizations go beyond the technologies themselves. They target improvements in innovation, decision making, and ultimately transforming how business works. Number three, company culture that fosters digital initiatives. Many organizations will have to change their cultural mindsets to increase collaboration and encourage risk taking. Business leaders should also address whether the different technologies or approaches can help bring about that change. They must also understand what aspects of the current culture could spur greater digital transformation progress. And the last point is digital fluency in leadership. Although leaders don't need to be technology wizards, they must understand what can be accomplished at the intersection of business and technology. They should also be prepared to lead the way in conceptualizing how technology can transform the businesses. So that's all for our presentation. Now we are open to any questions. Thank you.
I have a question to ask to Ahmad.
Yes, Kritik.
So you discussed about SMAC, social media, mobile, analytics, and cloud computing. Can you please tell me how these are interconnected and leading to digital transformation? The connectivity between the all.
So you are basically asking the interconnectivity between SMAC.
Yeah.
As a
How
SMAC
they're leading to
consists
digital transformation?
okay. SMAC is like what social, mobile, analytics, and cloud. So what all these four concepts are virtual in nature. So these are interconnected by themselves in their nature. That they are being connected through virtually. We often recognize analytics as a software, and we have social media platforms as a software itself, and we have mobile which we use to integrate all of them. So these are the four concepts that we are using. All these three concepts, we get the analytics report that how the organization is working with sales, with HR, with other key processes that the organization is running. So this is the interconnectivity, that all are interconnected. Without analytics, we cannot define what the mean value is we are opting out from our reports or from our progress. So this was, and now coming to that, what how SMAC is helping in digital transformation. As the last point, that is cloud, that C stands in SMAC. Cloud computing gives now these present time there are softwares that are available that gives us the status detailed report that how much we have to comply with the standard goals and that organization has set to achieve the target audience, to achieve the target profit, and to minimize the cost even itself. So this is how smartness and effective technology is helping in achieving organization goal. So these are four interconnected and leading towards the transformation, digital transformation itself.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question
Yeah.
for Sayantan.
Yes,
Sayantan,
Deepa.
you talked about strategies of digital transformation. Can you give a real life example of any such organization which has used these strategies of digital transformation resulting in market domination?
IRCT was one of the organization when railway ticketing was involved. It has been a market leader all the way, and most importantly, when IRCT involved, they evolved from manual ticketing to transform into business strategy of making it cloud-based technology. And now IRCTC has launched its own trains.
Yes, correct, rightly said by Diane. And apart from IRCTC, we have also heard about Accenture. That's management consulting company, one of the world's leading IT sector consulting companies. So Accenture itself has termed its department of strategy to technology department. It changes names of technology department to strategy department. So this is how the modern example of
Them examples of digital marketing strategy include a
Uh,
social media campaign that includes like partnership with influencers, a content marketing strategy that uses online guides to drive leads, or a growth marketing strategy that uses social media and email build customer loyalty. That is also an example of digital strategy.
Deepa, I think I lost my connection. Sorry, I'd like to answer your question now. Let me give you, apart from the examples given by my colleagues, let me give you another example which all of us know about. The case of the Volvo Group. We have all heard about the Volvo Group. What the Volvo Group did is that they basically fixed short-term goals to target quality assurances processes, which were required for specialized experts, but these experts were actually stuck in a lot of paperwork and all of those formalities. So what Volvo did was they tried to use the digital transformation. For example, they used IoT, that is Internet of Things, and AR, augmented reality. This enabled the quality assurance workers to access and view the latest engine configuration and supporting materials in real time. And like this, they established a digital model wherein their work was more efficient. And finally, we all know that Volvo Group is actually a dominant company in the market. So I hope that answers your question.
Yes, yes, for sure. Thank you.
I have one question. You should ask which one.
Am I audible?
yes,
Anas.
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Okay. Anas, you talked about complex software and technology.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So how do we overcome this challenge? How does any organization overcome this challenge you said that inherently enterprise software is complex. So how do you come about solving this problem?
Sir, I think that leaders who are working in an organization should consider this when in the early stage of transformation project without like delaying it and seek out the most initiative or integrated system. And they should know what is the problem. They should take any uh, decision, or if they want to implement anything, they should not be late regarding that, and they should be considering that problem in the early stage of a transformation project. If they are facing anything related to complex software and technology, enterprise software is inherently complex, and technologies can be intimidating. And this is a large challenge for organization undergoing digital transformation. And I think that from an implementation point of view or data integration perspective, the leaders who are working in an organization should be considering this in the early stage of a transformation project, and they should be taking decision regarding that in the early stage, in the initial stage of the digital transformation.
Okay, thank you.
This is for the group. Firstly, if you go through the slides, there is one slide on challenges. I don't know who showed it. And the first, Anas, I think, just go through. Lack of change management. Look at the spelling. Don't do these mistakes. We all do. But then be aware, since you're students and okay, I'm a teacher, I'm overlooking it. Similarly, you should overlook my faults. But beyond this, when you're in the industry, be very careful, right? I think that was
Okay, ma'am.
Anas who showed this slide. Now, I just want to get an opinion from the entire group. If we lack a digital strategy, what can happen?
Ma'am, a lack of change.
If we lack digital strategy, we are giving our competitors the full-fledged advantage of getting a competitive disadvantage for ourselves and thereby dissolving ourselves. So we have to be digitally strong and to survive in the recent trends that what our competitors are organizing and what we aren't. So we have to try to cope with it as early as possible.
To add on to what Hamad said, I think the digital strategy, as we saw, that is very expensive. As Anas told very correctly, it is very expensive. So ultimately, if we are not able to follow the digital strategy properly, it is going to be very loss making for the company itself. And as someone else was telling about the ERP is also a digital technology, and we saw the examples where ERP was bought but could not be implemented properly. That resulted in huge losses for the organization. So I think digital strategy is very important to be implemented properly with well training.
How do you decide on the balance between offline and online strategy?
Can you please repeat the question?
Like, for instance, some of the retailers, they were more into brick and mortar, and gradually they have moved into online system. So how do they create a balance? How do they decide?
Ma'am, they can schedule job scheduling by transforming their business and using more effective tools and generating more brick and mortar using technologies so to increase the businesses.
No, I want to know how do they decide on the balance where they should have a more thrust on offline or a more thrust on online.
Depends on the
You're
market
all
and the competitors
leaders.
as well. For
You're all
example,
managers and leaders. So you just make your assessment. How would you decide?
I think it will come down to what they can sustain better. If their business is profiting by implementing digital processes, then they will shift towards the digital, and through that they will decide the balance in the processes that are digital and the offline.
Actually, the digital transformation, as said by OS, we need to balance comes only when we are able to integrate the online and offline both properly. And for example, if you're talking about the brick and mortar stores, they need to assess their market conditions. Who are their potential customers? What are their selling points? How are their products doing online? About their competitors, and what are their unique selling points. After assessing, they can make a strategy that slowly we can move to the online sector, e-commerce sector, and after that they can actually strike out a balance.
Okay, very well answered. You have any questions, Shiraz? It was a good presentation. I'll get back to you with your notable points, hopefully by evening. And there are some students who were left over. I mean, they were not a part of any group. I have some of their names listed. Anybody who has not been a part of the group can just text me so that the next session that we have, we will be tapping on them and take a separate kind of a viva for them, depending upon one or two topics which we assign them. So let me know so that none of you have missed out. I think 3 or 4 names have come to me already. Okay, thank you so much, students.
Okay, ma'am.
Thank you so
Thank
Thank
you.
you,
much.
ma'am. Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.